Medicaid and Medicare are not entitlements, as many people like to believe. We're forced to pay into both programs throughout our working years, but the fact that we did does not guarantee that we'll benefit from them when we need it the most. That's because the first thing to fail during hard times is the medical system. And that's more likely in the U.S. than anywhere else in the world. Healthcare takes the biggest chunk of our federal budget. That means when the economy goes down, the health system will feel the brunt of the blow. It doesn't help that here in America, we usually pay 3 times more for medicine and medical insurance than anywhere else on the planet. If you've got a food stockpile, big water drums, ammo, and some guns, but not the right medicines put aside, and you don't know how to treat common medical conditions, then you are not really prepared. In every recent disaster, it was by far the lack of proper medical care that took the most lives. So I realized that we need to be able to take care of our own health when things go bad. Hi, my name is Claude Davis. You may know me from my website, askaprepper.com, or from one of my survival books, or you may have heard my warnings in the media. Regardless if you already know me or not, today I want to show you how you can manage the most common health problems at home while at the very same time cutting down on your medical costs. I'll also reveal what you need to treat yourself and your loved ones during hard times when the medical system cannot be depended on anymore. It basically all boils down to 3 extremely counterintuitive things that you'll need to know well before the pharmacies run dry and hospitals become unavailable. Each one is important, but the third one is absolutely astonishing. I would have never guessed how effective it is. Sit back and listen, as this video may save your life one day. I recently got in touch with a frontline doctor working in Venezuela, a place that has been dealing with economic trouble and shortages for years and has yet to recover. The truth is, if you want to see what happens during hard times, all you have to do is look at Venezuela. No electricity, no running water, no law, no antibiotics, no painkillers, no anesthetics, no insulin, no nothing. But if you want to find out how you can still manage in a desperate situation like this, you must look at Venezuela and learn from the handful of people who cope, despite widespread shortages of every kind. Dr. Maybell is one of them. She's working as a surgeon at Caracas University Hospital and has been ever since the economic and then medical crisis began. One of the first things Maybell explained to me is something you must realize before it's too late. And that is, once medical shortages run rampant, going to a hospital can be a very bad idea. In the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, a lot of people were left without a home, food, electricity, or running water. But some still had all these things because they had prepared for such an event. My friend Tom was one of them. He had at least 3 months' worth of food and water and a brand new generator that could power his entire home. Because Tom thought he had everything he needed at home, and because his house was on high ground, he decided to stay and weather out the storm. During the hurricane, a small wooden splinter flew inside through a broken window and pierced his hand. It was just a tiny wound. It wasn't really deep, and he thought he could manage it at home. He bandaged the wound with what he still had in his first aid kit and went to sleep that night. A few days later, he woke up in a cold sweat. His finger was pulsating, and he could tell an infection was taking hold. What you want to do in this kind of situation, other than disinfecting the wound, is to immediately take some antibiotics. Unfortunately, Tom didn't have any stockpiled because, as you know, they require a prescription. In a minute, I'll show you a way around that, but which people in Venezuela discovered after they ran out of antibiotics. Over the next couple of days, Tom's situation went from bad to worse. He began to run a constant high fever, and he barely had the energy to crawl out of bed. Every time he called 911 to ask for an ambulance, he always got a busy tone because, probably because the hospitals in the area had lost power and were already overcrowded with hundreds of sick and injured people. The roads were also not accessible yet by car. By the time my friend reached a hospital, his hand had swollen to the size of a football, and he was in great pain. As he desperately tried to get to the front of the line, he almost fainted a few times and had to be propped up by others. Tom told me he was one of the lucky ones who managed to see a doctor before it was too late. The doctor examined his hand and prescribed some antibiotics. Things were on the mend, But then an unforeseen problem came up. Overcrowded hospitals with lackluster sanitation and hygiene are the perfect breeding environments for germs. Tom's already weakened body picked up another, more aggressive bacteria that didn't respond to the usual treatment. I know firsthand that in the U.S., hospital administrators are pulling their hair out, wondering how to reduce hospital-acquired infections. The rate can be alarmingly high. In a crisis, you might have a much better chance of picking up an infection in a hospital than if the doctor performed the procedure in your own bedroom. At least at home, you have germs that you've developed an immunity against, and they're usually not resistant to every antibiotic known to man. After lying in a hospital bed for weeks on end, pumped full of intravenous antibiotics, Tom finally began to recover. The doctors were able to save his life. Others were not so fortunate, and despite what the media and government would have you believe, the greatest number of casualties after Katrina were not caused by the flooding itself, but by the infections in the medical crisis that followed. That's why every person should have some antibiotics stockpiled at home. In a crisis, it may be too late to find out what you really need, or doing so may put you in harm's way. If Tom would have had just a few antibiotics at home, he would have never had to leave his house. How do you stockpile enough life-saving antibiotics without a prescription? When there were no more antibiotics in hospitals and pharmacies across Venezuela, doctors there discovered fish and bird antibiotics could be used to treat their patients. Believe it or not, they have the same active substances found in human antibiotics. Every capsule of fish mox, for example, contains nothing but 250 milligrams of amoxicillin, the same substance found in amoxicillin capsules for humans. A substance is a substance after all. Most importantly, they don't require a prescription. You can order a month's supply for just $10 online or from a pet store almost anywhere in America. Plus, you can stockpile as many of them as you please because they keep good for years. If one day your life or the life of someone you love were to depend on it, how would you feel knowing you could still have this ace in the hole? Of course, you should always take human antibiotics if they're still available and only after consulting a doctor. I also don't advise taking antibiotics for every minor problem. I probably only used them 4 or 5 times in my life. Now, I suspect that you, like many other people, have a small medicine cabinet at home. Maybe it's not fully stocked, but at least you have some painkillers, an anti-inflammatory, or some other medication you need in there. Just imagine that's all gone tomorrow and you can't buy any more. What will you do? My guess is that sooner or later, you'll do what they did in Venezuela. You will turn to the medicinal plants growing in your backyard or in a nearby forest or park. They have so much more to offer than you might think, but it isn't until people run almost out of medicine completely that they realize that. If you don't know this already, many of the medicines on the market today are still derived from substances found in common plants.
Hi everyone, this is the review for people looking for dependable and honest home doctor reviews. Home doctor teaches individuals the foundation of medicine, including how to diagnose and treat health problems. People can trust the material because it is written by trained medical doctors. When attempting to help someone in need, this means there is a lower possibility of misdiagnosis or doing more harm than good. It is the ebook that everyone household requires. When confronted with danger, everyone experiences terror. They are frozen in place, aware of what they should do, protect themselves and others. A disaster can strike at any time, and there are plenty of informative materials available online and in stores to help you prepare. But what about the more commonplace methods to assist? The majority of people are unaware that there are numerous options for staying healthy, avoiding illness, and more. The home doctor attempts to show them exactly how to be safe. The home doctor focuses on dealing with medical difficulties in any setting for any home. With approximately 300 pages of content, consumers who are in situations that prohibit medical assistance from arriving would benefit from this doctor-written information. In this book, users will learn about many topics when reading the content, like in the event of a supply chain breakdown, there are 10 medical supplies that they must always have on hand. When the power goes out, the most common mistakes people make and how they can protect medicines that need to be refrigerated. The signs of a heart attack and how to help some who is having one. The dangers of utilizing a medication that has passed its expiration date as well as the precise day of expiration. The 4 antibiotics that users should have on hand. A natural painkiller that grows outside and provides users with the same pain relief as pharmaceuticals. How to create a stockpile of medication. The first thing that they should do after they notice that they are having a stroke, the risk of taking the wrong probiotics. The easiest strategy to deal with respiratory problems is to do it at home. How to utilize common household products to treat abrasions and other skin injuries. These lessons are detailed in great depth for consumers, making it easier than ever to be prepared for emergencies. Customers can choose between a physical book and a digital ebook when purchasing this priceless book. Both can be had for $37. The only cost difference is that users who buy the physical book will have to pay $8.99 for shipping and handling. Even with all the content available, the home doctors creators recognize that the materials may not meet their specific needs. That's why every purchase comes with a 60-day money back guarantee. Anyone who agrees to take a chance on this product will receive 2 bonuses. The goodies are free of charge and are only accessible to customers who buy the original book. The first present is wild edibles you can forage for or find around your house, which describes the herbs that Venezuelans ate to keep from becoming hungry as food prices skyrocketed. Natural healing secrets of Native Americans is the second gift. Consumers who would otherwise have no means of knowing what they can do enhance their daily lives can benefit from the home doctor's advice. These procedures are inexpensive, allowing anyone to take care of their medical needs as they arise. Users can purchase a real or digital goods and carry it with them at all times to be better prepared in the event of a disaster. Thanks for watching the video. Good luck.